21st mantra. Apanipado hamachintya shakti. I am without hand and foot. Achintya shakti, of inconceivable power. I am without hand and foot means Brahman is not responsible for any movement, any action. Remember, it is me and I that is responsible for all that is happening in my life, and I have to take the credit or responsibility for whatever is happening in my life. The Brahman or God has got nothing to do with my life nor the destiny I create. So he says that in their own unique way, in Upanishadic style, he says, I am without hand and foot, of inconceivable power. It is that consciousness which enlivens all the kingdoms, the plant kingdom. If you see the plant kingdom is thriving, it's because of me, he says. The animal kingdom and the human kingdom. I am that power. I am that which gives vitality to them. I see with no eye. Pashyamya chakshu. Sashrunomya karna. I see with no eye. I hear without an ear. No eye, no ear means Brahman is not an object of perception. Brahman is not an object of emotion. Brahman is not an object of thought. Brahman is that which enlivens your perception, emotion, and thought. In fact, one of the most subtlest of sadhana, even before ultimately meditation is the ultimate sadhana, but since we are not there, the highest sadhana we all can do is, in the context when we say that Brahman is that which enables your perception. Brahman is the subject within, not the object of perception. So the sadhana here is that one should not get lost in the perceptions. One should not get lost in the various emotions. One should not get lost in the various thoughts. So not to get lost in the perceptions. Whose perceptions? My own perceptions, not your perception. I should not get lost in my perceptions. I should not get lost in my emotions and thoughts. If I get lost and get carried away and swept away in the various perceptions and emotions and thoughts, I'm going that much further away from the Atman. Atman is the subject, not the object. The object is the furthermost from you. The self, Atman, is the closest to you, even from the point of proximity. Atman is the closest. The objects of the world are far away. Even if you ask me, I would say that computer, this garment, because the garment is closer to me than the computer, which is just hardly a feet away, or 2 at max. So I would say that computer, this garment. The moment I say that, creates pointing out something at a distance. This symbolizes closeness. Then I say that garment, this body. Even though the garment is on my body, but the garment is too far away than the body itself. That garment, this body. Then extend the argument, that body, this mind. The mind is still closer to me than the body. Then I would say this mind, so that mind, this intellect. Intellect is superior, closer to the self than the mind. then I would say that intellect, this self. I'm just trying to establish that the objects of the world are too far away from you. The subject, the Atman, is the closest to you. And in this mantra, in fact, in the 2021, he is asserting himself of that Brahman, the master, the guru of the text. He, not that he realized only in the 21st mantra, he is a realized soul, but he is trying to announce to the student that I am that realized state. I have attained that state of Brahman. So when he says I see with no I, I'm trying to explain that when you say no I, it is not an object of perception, it is that which enlivens the perception. So the sadhana here is you should not be swept away with the perceptions, emotions, and thoughts. So the first step of sadhana is to be objective to the perceptions, emotions, and thoughts. Objective is to create a separation between you and your perceptions, emotions, and thoughts. Your perceptions, your actions, your emotions, and thoughts. Add actions also into it. PAET, your perceptions, your actions, your emotions, and thoughts. You are perceiver, you are the actor, you are the feeler, you are the thinker. You are perceiving, you're acting, you're thinking, you're feeling and thinking. It's you that's doing. The Atman is subject, not the object. Now, how do I get that? The first thing is you must learn to be objective. Objective means you stand apart, you separate yourself from these happenings. You look as an observer to these. If I don't observe the perceptions, what would happen? if I'm not objective to the perceptions, actions, emotions, and thoughts, what would happen? If I'm not an observer to this, what would happen? I'm not talking of being objective to others. The problem is we get involved with others' actions. I'm not talking of that. I'm talking about, as I said, this is a very subtle sadhana, is to be objective to your own perceptions, actions, emotions, and thoughts. Now, what happens if you're not objective to these? SR.
Guruji, if you're not been objective to the PAET, and you'll get carried away, will prevent that.
Where would you get carried away?
Where would we get carried away?
So where do your perceptions, actions, emotions, and thoughts take you?
Take you to the worldly affairs.
Into the worldly affairs. Yes. You will get caught up in the world. The moment you are caught up in the perceptions, actions, emotions, and thoughts, you're not objective. You are going further away from your core of yourself. You're going away from your innate self nature. So when they come, you obviously have to feel. When emotions of joy come, you have to feel. When emotion of ecstasy come, you feel. When emotion of sorrow come, you feel. But don't be swept away by that. When a beautiful, majestic perception comes, you don't have to be sulking, or you don't have to be weeping in morose state. You have to enjoy that perception.
And come out of it, the earliest.
I'm sorry, sir?
We had to come out of that moment instantly, the moment that particular action takes place.
I am saying not come out. You are never in it.
Okay, but we need to feel it, because when we feel it, means unless we are in it, then only we can able to feel that the moment. But we should not get carried away. And
correct. So in fact, you never are lost. What I'm saying is you have never lost your objectivity.
Maybe that means conscious should be always an alert.
It's like you're driving, sir. You're driving. Can you ever afford to lose your awareness? The moment you have lost it, you're inviting trouble.
That's true. I think recently, Guruji, where people have a conscious of, when you say driving, you have a brake and accelerator will go by one single pedestal we operate. That's why the driving. We switch the leg from the accelerator to the brake. I think somewhere the conscious lost where they have to apply their brake, they apply the accelerator. They are no more in this world.
It doesn't exist. Very true. Very true. So the very good, sir. The first step is you must learn to be objective. To the extent you're not, the world will suck you into it. You will be drawn into it, and then you're further away. Now, having maintained a sense of shield to the PAET, the second step is you start going inward. Then and then only you will be able to appreciate the thought that Brahman is the subject and not the object. If I am carried away by PAET, there's no chance of recognizing Brahman, isn't it? Recognizing the subject. Only when you stand objective, then you can go and appreciate this. It is not what I see, it is that which enables me to see whatever I see. That is God. It's not what I hear. You may be hearing the KAIVALYOPANISHAD. It is not, this is not Brahman. Talking about KAIVALYOPANISHAD is not Brahman. It is that which enables me to speak. That is God. It is that which enables you to hear the Upanishad. That is God. So it could be a discord music, or it could be the highest truth spoken. You are not caught up in the discord or the truth. You are interested in that which enables you to perceive, not what you perceive. So you are actually dismissing the object of perception here. You're negating the object of perception, you're negating the objects and going to the subject. Now here we are glorifying the object. We are divinizing the object. We are trying to give a monumental place to the object, the world. The world means so much to us. Your emotions mean so much to you. Your ideas mean so much to you. How can you pass the hurdle? You're keeping them too lofty a hurdle that you can't cross them. So your own perceptions, your own actions, your own emotions and thoughts become an obstacle, a hurdle for your growth. That's the best way I think we could interpret the concept. Pashyamya chakshu sashrunomya karna. And then he says, Aham vijanami. I know well. None knows me. Means I have realized the state. I know it. You fellows don't know it. Keep quiet. Don't talk. Empty vessels makes too much noise. Shanti, shanti. You fellows don't know. I'm not saying, the text is saying, I know well, you fellows don't know. I am of the purest form, Vivikta Rupam. Anything that's pure means there is no mala, there is no dirt, there is no vasanas. So it is that state of purest form. Very difficult to capture what that purity is. And then lastly, he said, Mama Chit Sadaham, I am ever consciousness. This aspect I did not explain lastly. He said, I am ever consciousness. Now, what does it mean, ever consciousness? Consciousness, as we just said, enables your body to perceive. So the consciousness enables your body to perceive, because of which you're conscious of perceptions and actions. Am I right? Consciousness is that which enables your body. Because of that, you're conscious, your body is conscious of perceptions and actions. The consciousness enlivens the mind. Because of that, you're conscious of the various emotions. The consciousness enlivens the intellect. Because of that, the intellect is conscious of various thoughts. But neither the body, nor the mind, nor the intellect is ever conscious of the consciousness. Pretty got confused, huh? Harish ji, if you are there, please capture the statement for us. Sir, what I'm saying, Reddy Garu, is consciousness enlivens the body. Am I right?
Yes.
It's like electricity enlivening the bulb. Okay. Consciousness enlivens the body. Because of that, what the body does, the body becomes conscious of perceptions and actions.
Yes.
Have you got this statement?
Yes.
Literally?
Yes. Yeah.
Now, can you say how does it apply to the mind? The consciousness enlivens the mind.
Mind.
Because of that, the mind becomes conscious of various emotions. Isn't it?
Yes.
Today you feel joy and sorrow. Why is your mind feeling joy and sorrow? Because the consciousness has enlivened the mind. Isn't it?
Yes.
The same thing. The consciousness enlivens the intellect.
Intellect.
Because of which the intellect is conscious of various ideas. Right?
Got it.
Now, in spite of the consciousness enlivening these equipments to function, the body, mind, intellect is never conscious of the consciousness. Conscious of consciousness means, conscious means aware of, can perceive. The body, the mind, the intellect cannot conceive, cannot perceive, cannot feel, cannot become conscious of the consciousness. The body can only become conscious of perception actions. The mind can only be conscious of emotions. The intellect can only be conscious of thoughts. But the body, mind, intellect cannot be conscious of the consciousness. Why it cannot be conscious of the consciousness? Consciousness is the very subject. It is not the object.
No, Guruji. I could a large statement. Let me.
Simple thing. No, I'll give an example. A standard example which we take, I give you here. In the darkness, you use a torch to find your way, to find things. Okay, you use a torch. So with the torch, you can see every object and being outside. But with that light, it's that bright light which the torch emanates, can you see the very make of the bulb, or the very make of the bulb, or the very make of the battery? Which company is the battery? Why can't the light illumine the battery?
No.
The light can only illumine the object. The light cannot illumine the very source of that light, which is the battery. You get it?
Yes. Yes.
So the bulb or the light here is the BMI. you write the comparative.
Yes, yes.
Ramji, what are the comparisons here, sir, in the example of the torch and the bulb? Yes, sir.
Hari Om Guruji. So the bulb or the light is, or let's say the bulb is the object which which is getting energized or enabled by the battery inside, which is like the cell, and the bulb is like the. So the battery is the subject and the bulb is the object, or battery is the self and the bulb is the world. The thoughts, the perceptions, and then the emotions and actions, they're all represented by the bulb.
So then what are the objects then?
They're the
With
objects.
With the torch, you see the objects and beings,
Objects
right?
outside, yeah.
So what are the objects here?
Objects are the basically the BMI are the objects.
No. How can the perceptions, actions, emotion, thoughts are the objects?
Right.
The
Right.
BMI is the bulb.
Bulb, yeah.
The battery is the
Consciousness or
consciousness.
yeah.
So when the consciousness enlivens the equipments, you're conscious of the world, isn't it? So when the battery illumines the bulb illumines the objects and beings.
Objects, yeah.
So the light, or the bulb which is illumined by the battery, it cannot see the very source. It can't see the very battery. How can it see? So that is the explanation, Reddy Garu. The BMI is conscious of objects and beings, but the BMI can never become conscious of the very consciousness.
Perfect, Guruji. Example is clear.
Yeah, it always that this methodology of communicating through an example is known as upamana. Upamana means comparison, and this methodology goes a long way in conveying a message of something subtle or unknown. It helps. Clear, Ramji?
Yes, sir.
So when he says, I am ever consciousness, so what it means, let me ask Haresh. So what have you understood in conclusion, Haresh, when we say of I am ever consciousness? Haram, are you unmuting everybody? Okay.
Hariam Guruji, can you hear me?
Yes.
Guruji, yes, I understand. Basically, that Brahman enlivens us. Brahman enables us to see the perceptions of PAET. It enables us to see or hear or think. It is the enlivenment that helps us enable to do it. Without that, we don't have a function.
Yes. But when he says, I am ever, Sada means always. I'm always chitta. I'm always consciousness. What does it mean? I'm always consciousness. This is just a conclusion of the explanation. Any thoughts, Suresh? What exactly that means? All right. Okay, Shantima.
Ariom Guruji. I think it's a transcended state of BMI, mind and body, mind and intellect, ever consciousness,
Transcended state of?
state of BMI.
What do you mean transcended state?
It's beyond the BMI.
Yes, it is beyond the BMI, but he's not saying I am beyond BMI. He's only saying I am ever consciousness. So he's describing the state of the pure consciousness here, isn't it? What is he describing that state?
Self-realized state, Turiya state.
He is only trying to say that it always remains in an unconditioned state. I can never be felt, understood, perceived. Remember that. A subject always remains to be a subject. The moment, okay, are you all with me? A subject always remains to be a subject. The subject here is the Atman. Again, going back to when he said, I see with no eye, means I am that which enables to see. I am that which enables you to hear. It is the subject. Am I right? So when he says, I am always consciousness, which means I am always the subject. I can never become the object. That's all. That's what he's saying. I am ever consciousness. It's like saying, I'm always rich, which means what? Oh, I can never become poor in my life. It's just a logical thought process by trying to understand what that state is. I'm always brilliant means I can never become dull. You get it? Anda Madri, when he says I am ever, so I'm trying to, we have to get the pun from the word always. I am ever. So that word ever or always has to be understood. So when he says I am ever consciousness, means I always remain to be the subject. And a subject loses its status of a subject the moment it becomes an object of perception, action, emotion, and thought. Atman is never an object. It's always the subject. Sada. It can't be dethroned from the status of subject, Shivaji. Permanent permanent state. It can't be dethroned. No amount of election or anything can't change it. Amitama, you can change the government, but you can't change the Atman within. Amitama said, I am in the, she's voting is going on in Malaysia. She said, I can't put the video on. So go and vote that you can never be dethroned. The Atman within you can never be dethroned, Amitama. I am ever established in the self. Yes, Setuji, perfect. Yes, sir, Setuji, you want to say something? Shantima, okay, na? Right.
Ariom Guruji, I just am unable to put my video on, but
No problem, sir.
but it's a self-realized state, and I am fully established in self, and I will always remain.
It also can be interpreted the way you're saying that one who attains that state of self-realization, he never falls back from that state. Like sometimes when, we all say this, when we pick up a particular quality or discipline, we're not able to get established in that. We keep falling from that, isn't it? But they say one who gets to the state of realization, it's a path of no return. Means one who gets there, he gets established there. He doesn't fall back from that. So in that also you can say, I am ever consciousness. You can say that.
Because it is the master who is also declaring, we can take it.
Yes, it is a master, it is a realized soul who is announcing his established state. All right. Very good, sir. Thank you. Yeah, Shivaji, anything? So we can't hear you, sir.
The gadget which enlivens can never understand the beauty, how the electricity is produced and supplied to it. It can only enjoy that there is a supply and it will function.
So it can
It
even
never-
come from the inverter, sir. It doesn't matter. It can come from the inverter also. It will not
That
understand.
also has got a limited,
Sir,
limited.
but I am only going with you, sir. Neenga inverter king, sir. Neenga.
That is why we are called, it's only for a stop gap arrangement. Adu kuda permanent illa.
Why I say that is because Shivaji is into a business of providing inverters and stabilizers. Am I right, sir?
Yes, sir. So it can never understand. We can't expect the gadgets to understand how beautiful that power supply is.
Correct.
You can never,
Uninterrupted.
in the whole of life, it is not possible.
The life of that equipment, it cannot understand the source.
Yes.
It cannot understand.
There's a very beautiful
Perfect.
this thing which I came across, which is now be established. Don't be aware of what you are and not you are not. Be aware of what you are not. If we are aware of what we are not and rest in what you are.
Negate and assert. Be aware of what you're not and be established. Perfect, sir. Perfect. Yes, Hariji.
Guruji, I can be conscious of something only if it is different from me. So if Brahman is different from me, then I can be conscious of Brahman. But if I am Brahman, or if Brahman is everything, then the question of being conscious of Brahman doesn't come at all, because he is everything, including the world, including the equipment.
From whose standpoint are you talking?
From the self-realized person's standpoint of view, what
Correct.
the
So from an absolute standpoint, everything is Brahman. So question doesn't
everything.
arise.
So,
But we are not interpreting from an absolute standpoint. We are interpreting it from a relative standpoint. No,
when he says, I am ever conscious, a consciousness, which means that there is nothing else. So the meaning of
he's not, you see, whether you interpret it as Brahman is everything, is you and I, each one has the liberty to interpret it that way. But is that being conveyed when you say, I am ever consciousness? I am ever consciousness, contrary to consciousness is being conscious of. So the moment you say consciousness, it is, remember, pure consciousness. We used the word PC before. When you say anything becomes, when you're conscious of something, it becomes the conditioned consciousness. CC. So that when he says, I am ever consciousness, it only means I remain the eternal subject. I am not the object. So I'm just going with the thought flow which he used in the earlier part of this very mantra. So the same thought he's concluding.
Yeah, when he says, when I am ever consciousness, he is not using the word conscious. He's now,
correct.
He is now talking at the highest level. I mean,
which is what
my
we're
interpretation correct?
What is your interpretation?
That he has already become one with him. There is no separation. Yeah, everything, whatever
Sir, I also want to ask you, is my interpretation correct, sir?
Yes, that is
thank you, sir. Stick with that, sir. If you think it is correct, stick with it. You don't come up with an independent interpretation.
No. If I have understood you correctly, then you also meant that time when you say that I am.
Sir, you and I are one, sir. We are all Brahman. What is the difference? That is what you're saying, no?
Yeah, sure.
That's it, sir. Correct. We are one, sir. There is no difference. No, in fact, it is beyond doubt when he's been using throughout the mantra, when he's saying, I am,
Yeah.
I hear, he's
He is
already
one.
talking of that state. There is no
Yeah.
doubt about it. But when he says, I am our consciousness, it is only trying to establish the exalted state of Brahman, which can never be captured with the
Body, mind, and intellect.
BMI, which
Yeah.
always is conscious of. That's the reason we brought about that element of that phrase where, or the phrase where we said consciousness enlivens the body,
Yeah.
because due to which the body becomes conscious of. So the BMI can never be conscious
Conscious
of the
of.
pure consciousness.
Yeah.
Therefore, it remains pure consciousness.
Yeah.
Again, repeating it, I also mentioned it, a subject remains to be subject if it doesn't become an object ever.
Yeah.
And Atman always remains to be subject. It can never become an object of perception, action, emotion, thought.
Yeah.
Therefore, it is ever consciousness.
Consciousness. Okay.
Okay. All right, sir. Thank you.